The second part of the seascape is that we're going to do this one day later, that we're going to add the highlights in the sky and in the sea. I do this with a dry, clean brush, and everything is super clean. I start with it so that it's not getting mixed with anything else. And I'm not diluting it at all. This is a dry brush. And we're adding now the highlights. I added a little bit of lemon yellow into the white, and I use it for all the highlights. If the highlights on the leaves need to have lemon yellow, I hardly put any white in it. But since this is white and needs to be white, it can have the light of the sun slightly yellow in it. And now it's not mixing with the green of the sea, it just stays pure as this is. So do that before we do anything else. And you probably have pencil outlines now of the trees and the seascape, the sea grapes. And we're going to mix the medium green. But here, so with the dry brush, you blend it in as much as you can, and then you just leave it alone. This is what it is, and it's fine. Now, if you have a late evening, then that would be orange. The white would be orange, but the sky would be different too. We can do that later. Now we're going to look how to mix the green. This is viridian green and yellow ochre. If you have permanent green, that's fine too. Some are light, some are darker. It doesn't matter, but now we're going to mix the medium green, the green that will be everywhere on the trees. In Florida, it's a little bit warmer green. In where I am right now in North Carolina, it's a little bit cooler green. But these are all very subtle changes. First, we got to have the medium green we make now a darker version and a lighter version. And the darker version will be the complementary color of green, which is red, alizarin crimson, and then blue for the shadow and a little bit more of the permanent green. So now I have two batches of green, a dark version and a lighter version. Now I want to have the even more lighter version, and I need a new brush for that, a clean brush. So I still take a little part. I take lemon yellow, but see, this makes for a very cool green. That would be the absolute highlight. I like to add a little bit of cadmium yellow to this, which is warmer, which is all for the foreground. So now to this batch, I have two lighter versions of the same green. These are all in the same kind of hue. So it's not warmer or cooler than each other. It's just the values are darker or lighter. Now we're going to look at the foliage, and we're going to add these colors with a little bit of medium. If you have acrylic, again, you can do just an extender. If you don't have it, I use neomagilp, that is my favorite. But it could also be linseed oil. Linseed oil is actually really nice because it stays fluid for a very long time. So now we're going with the medium green, we're going to add all the values on it. The further away you go with the foliage, the less contrast there is. The biggest contrast is in the front, and it also has the warmest colors. So follow this a little bit. I know I do this on top of existing things, but you can do that on top of your drawing that you have. Be careful, like what I do now is I put the palette on top of the painting that you don't smudge the waves because they are wet. That paint that we just did is wet. If you do it the next day or even later, then you don't have that problem. The darker parts, like the trunks of the palm trees, are the same mixture that we did before of permanent green, ultramarine, and alizarin crimson. That makes kind of a purplish black, very dark color. And you use that on the bottom of the trunks of the palm trees. Have fun with this. We're going to meet soon, so we can discuss what is going on here. I would suggest, though, that you either have a photograph or you go sit close to the palm trees, if that is at all a possibility, and look at where the look at where the dark is dark and the light is. So here I'm making that very dark, and I'm adding a little bit of yellow ochre to it. And what that does is it makes it also a little bit opaque. So it covers up the sea and whatever we did before really beautifully. And it's a little bit neutral to the purple side. Be careful with the darkest part. Really squint and see where they are. But also don't worry too much about it. You can let it dry and the next day we'll go over it with a lighter color. Here is my medium. It's Neo McGilp. I use a tiny bit of it to make it more fluent. And extender, if maybe you don't even need it with the acrylic. You just can go over it in layers because it dries so fast, which is really very nice of acrylic. See here, the darkest dark I use on the bottom of the palm trees and also behind the sea grapes in the front, only in the front, because there you have the lightest light and you have the darkest dark. Know where the sun is coming from. In this picture it's coming from the left, so that is where the lightest parts are, if you can see them at all. But also, like in the fronds of the palm trees, the parts that are on the left will all be light and the parts that are on the right will all be in the dark. You can see that because of the shadow on the stairs, on the railing, and on the let's say the bridge of the staircase. Now we're going to make the color of that wood, which is a warm color, and it has again a purple shadow side, maybe a little bit blue, and it has a very strong light side, and those are the things that you see are that come straight at you. There is also again the strongest contrast. You can add a little bit of white to that purple and let it fade away more to the sea, towards the sea, than in the front, if that makes sense. And then we have yellow ochre with white and cadmium yellow to show the warmth of the sun on the places where the sun hits all that. So let everything fade away the further away, we can't really see how long this bridge is, how long this corridor is. But we can add a little bit white when it goes to the sea more. Just to warn you, don't do what I'm doing. I'm putting my palette on top of wet paint. That is not a good idea. I do this though because I want to have everything close by. I want you to see the palette and the colors I'm mixing. And I also want you to have a look of the view of the painting itself. Don't do what I'm doing. So let's see now the steps and the front where the sun hits it. It's yellow ochre and white and a touch of cadmium yellow. Mix it and put a dab on it to see if this is closest. If not, mix it a little bit more. You can also add a little bit of cadmium red to it, but I actually don't have that on my palette right now, and I think cadmium yellow should do the trick. Remember, it's wood, so it's warm, and it is warmed up by the sun. It's close by, so the shadows are very strong. So don't be afraid of the colors. That is just what it is. And it's only paint. So if you make a mistake, then you go over it the next day. This is actually a fun painting, and I forgot about it. It was under my bed for a very long time, rolled up. But now I'm happy to be able to work on it again. Now it's also memory of very happy times at the Manasota Key. The foliage is the sea grapes, which are very decorative and beautiful, and the sable palms, which also are called cabbage palms because they have this round top, the round canopy. Now look where the sun hits everything else, because now you still have that color. So the boots of the palm tree have that. Remember what I said, the lightest light is coming from the left and the darker colors are on the right. So think it through and think where it could hit all the warm parts, all the light parts. Of course, the top of the sable palms and this whole left side. That is very important, that you always know where the light is coming from, because that is going to give you the illusion of the third dimension. The light dictates actually the three-dimensional illusion. Well, that is all I have to say for today. You have your 4 colors green, you have your front part, your far away part. You should really be able to do this and have fun with doing this. And I'll see the results pretty soon. Good luck.